Jackie's point that may well be a diversion, that he actually decided to throw these for two things: to give himself cover, even though I think it also draws attention to him, but it also forces people to scatter. And when people scatter, you got less likely that somebody's going to ID somebody, because it becomes down to self-preservation, obviously. And so, there's multiple layers as to why this guy used some sort of smoker incendiary device, but it's probably going to be a version of all of the above. But clearly, it gives him certain advantages as far as diverting people a different direction. He goes another direction. Why he's got the gas mask on, we don't know, other than it would keep his eyes clear probably from an incendiary device, if in fact it's one that would cause eye irritation. But the point being, it's another thing as the NYPD investigate this, they're going to look for. Now, I'm not suggesting you're going to be able to figure out where people bought incendiary devices and, in or around New York, but it may come to that at some point potentially, because people who commit mass shootings like this tend to gather their items. What are the items in this case? Some sort of weapon. I still haven't heard a description of what that is. This incendiary device, a vest, if it's not part of his work environment. I mean, these are all things you gather up before you commit these shootings. And many times a short time before the shooting. So, that may or may not play into this. It depends on what sort of specificity NYPD gets as far as who this shooter might be. And, we'll have to see how quickly that unfolds. Sadly, it may not unfold quickly, but hopefully it will.
And we're seeing a tweet now coming in from Senator Chuck Schumer of New York saying, "I'm closely monitoring the situation this morning at the 36th Street station in Sunset Park in our beloved Brooklyn. I'm praying for all the victims, their families, all those impacted. I'm grateful for the quick action of our first responders. To everyone in New York, stay safe." And of course, we've been looking at that scene all morning after a gunman opened fire on the New York City subway there in Brooklyn. There are 3 crime scenes at the moment, 2 subway stations, as well as the subway train itself. The NYPD and FDNY are both at the scene. But I want to go to Kenneth Moten in Washington, because there are also federal authorities assisting in this investigation. Kenneth, what's the latest from Washington?
Well, we know several federal agencies, Diane, are involved in this as well, helping those New York City officials. We understand President Biden was briefed about 20 to 30 minutes ago. The White House says it is in touch with the mayor there in New York City and the police commissioner as well. We know that Governor Kathy Hochul also has been briefed about the situation. When it comes to the Attorney General, he has been briefed as well. And again, federal partners are trying to provide any assistance as much as possible to New York City officials as they really get underway with this investigation and this manhunt that is also underway. Just a reset here, that a lone gunman in a reflective vest, according to witnesses, and a possible gas mask seen at that scene. We understand this suspect, 5 feet 5 inches tall, 180 pounds. The police there at this point believe he acted alone, but they are, according to sources, they do believe that this was an orchestrated attack, but they do caution that things can change pretty rapidly when you're dealing with a major and a massive scene like that one in Brooklyn. When it comes to the president, we understand that he will leave the White House in about 20 minutes, Diane, and so we expect to hear from the president, potential and possibly that he doesn't want to get ahead of the local officials and authorities there on the scene, who we understand will be speaking to the media also within the hour to give an update. But it is very likely that we will hear from the president when he leaves the White House. If he leaves by chopper, when he leaves on the South Lawn there, he typically talks to the media and to the cameras. And so we will see if that happens, and we will see what the president says, and we will bring that to you as quickly as possible. But at this point, we are staying in touch with the White House. And again, Press Secretary Jen Psaki says that White House staff, they are staying in touch and offering whatever federal assistance there to New York City officials as well. This is a large investigation, and we know that, and as our contributors have been pointing out, when it comes to the NYPD, when it comes to what many say is the #1 law enforcement agency in the country here because of the size, the sheer size of New York City, that they are pretty good at these investigations because of the number of cameras that are there. But as we've seen from the video there on the scene, the FBI has a number of agents on that scene because of the joint task force that are in place when it comes to what happens there in New York City and the cooperation between the feds and local. And so with the FBI agents on the scene, they are divvying up their